This lecture is an introduction to the social community zone, one of the 4 zones of social media that we've been talking about in our textbook. So this chapter talks about social community, which we can also call kind of the relationship zone. The social media networks provide a structure for those social interactions, for those relationship building opportunities online. So it's about acquiring and maintaining relationships. It's about collaboration and conversation. And brands encourage participation through engagement with an audience. Facebook, of course, would be kind of the number 1 social community network. It's the sort of the juggernaut of social zones. So social networking sites all maintain the basic network structure that we talked about in the previous chapter. They're the foundation of social media because every form of social media is based on participation from a community of members. So those members are the nodes that are connected to one another by relationships. So social networking sites typically vary in terms of 3 important dimensions: audience and degree of specialization, the social objects that mediate the relationships among members, and the degree of decentralization or openness. So we'll skip the first one for now because I want to go a little bit deeper into it. But if you look at number 2, the social objects, sites that are designed around object sociality differentiate themselves due to some common hobby or interest or characteristic that draws members to the site. They're like the niche markets. And then number 3, the degree of decentralization or openness addresses how to let people easily access multiple sites and understand where they go and why. So do people have to register to participate in the site, or is it fully open? Decentralization also has to do with the networking fatigue that is experienced from needing to manage multiple community accounts for each social channel that you're involved in. You know, do you have a separate login for Twitter and for Instagram and for Facebook? Is that, you know, and how tiresome that kind of is to manage all of that. So one solution or one possible answer is identity portability, where you'd actually use one profile across all social networking sites. So let's talk a little bit more about the audience specialization piece of it. So social networking sites can be either internal or external. Internal social sites are those that a specific organization builds for its own use, and they limit the members to people who are part of that organization. It's more dynamic, it's more interactive in its collaboration and in its communication. So some examples of that would be Nissan's N-Square employee network, or JDate.com, which is a dating social network for Jewish singles, or Care2, which is a social network for people who want to help with social causes. So those are some examples of some internal social networks. Then external social networks are the networks that are open to people who are not affiliated with the site's sponsor or creator. Engagement is a word you hear used a lot as it relates to social media. So what does it mean to engage? Engagement is really the essence of social media. Without it, social media might just as well be television. How do customers behave when they're engaged? Maybe they exhibit positive word of mouth. They share recommendations with others. They help others make decisions, or they blog about something. They become the brand ambassadors if they're really engaged. And brands want consumers to friend, follow, or like the brand. Liking, however, is very low involvement. It doesn't require a lot of effort on behalf of the audience member. So engagement is kind of on a continuum where at one end, people engage with a brand simply because they want to acknowledge it. Like you like a brand's Facebook page because, yeah, you've bought the brand and you kind of like it. I want to acknowledge that, yeah, this is a good brand. It doesn't necessarily mean you want to purchase the brand, but you acknowledge that it exists and it's good. At the other end of the spectrum are those who are so engaged with the brand that they will even maybe visit a museum that's dedicated to that brand. So think about like the Ben & Jerry's Creamery in Vermont. I actually went on vacation to New England several years ago, and we drove 2 hours out of our way just to go visit Ben & Jerry's corporate headquarters and take a tour of their creamery. So that's engagement, when people will go to that extreme. So there are some specific characteristics of people who are that engaged, who are social fans of a brand. First is the emotional engagement. This is where the object is meaningful in the emotional life of a fan. The fan can really relate to the object or brand. Then there's self-identification, where the fan can actually identify with like-minded fans. You feel a camaraderie with other people. I may have mentioned in this class that I'm a big fan of Taylor guitars. And if I see another guitar player playing a Taylor guitar, I automatically identify with that person because they're like-minded. They're Taylor guitar lovers too. Then there's cultural competence. And that's where the fan has a critical understanding of the object and its history and its meaning beyond its basic functionality. Then there's auxiliary consumption. This is where a fan collects and consumes related items or paraphernalia. I have a couple of friends who are huge fans of Disney. They take trips there all the time to Disney World. And if you look at their homes or their offices, you can see tchotchkes all over the place that are, Mickey Mouse related or very, Disney related tchotchkes. I had another friend who was a big Warner Brothers fan, so everything they collected was Bugs Bunny and things like that. So these are the fans who actually will buy these related items that help that person identify with that brand and connect to that brand even more. And then there's production. This is where the fan becomes so involved and engaged with the brand that they start producing content related to it, like they blog about it. So maybe you blog about the best places to visit at Disney World if you're a big Disney fan, and your blog consists of content related to that brand. So those are people who really are going above and beyond. So we're going to take a break there, and when we come back, we'll talk about how we can use engagement in marketing.